Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I am going to start a set of KCC 21 cards. I've got this fabulous collection that's available at Spellbinders. This is from Rosie's Studios and the collection is called Jubilee. And look at all of the different things that you can get as part of this collection. There's 12 by 12 papers as well as 6 by 6. I'll be using the 6 by 6, but I just wanted to show that there's also 12 by 12. And then for things that you can use to decorate, you've got a sticker book, you've got some puffy stickers, which are really great. Like, I like this one because it's a lot of birthday sentiments with numbers. So if you're celebrating a milestone birthday, I think that's really pretty cool. This is really lovely. Chipboard embellishments I always really like because they're super dimensional and they just have some real weight to them, which is lovely. And you can get like loads of sentiments and pieces to collage with. But speaking of collaging, there are two sentiment, like ephemera packs. So this one is sentiments, whereas this one is more your images. So these are really great as well. Lots of different options for how to decorate. And these might be my favorite. I just love these butterflies. They're super dimensional already. They have a little bit of lift to them. It's double layered. So really cool. Now one of the things that is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me is the paper pad from Rosie's Studios is gorgeous as always. You get 40 sheets. There are 20 designs, so you get 2 of each unique design. But what makes it for the KCC challenge, a challenge for me anyhow, is that it's single-sided. So if you have watched any of my series on putting together a set of KCC cards, you know that I rely on double-sided pattern papers because so often I flip to the back to save myself if I've maybe chosen something that was directional, for example, and on the sketch it didn't turn out to be used in the orientation that I originally picked. So that is definitely going to be something that I am gonna try to overcome with this set of papers. So this will probably be a multi-part series. As a KCC instructor, myself, Kendra, and Beth of Bourbon Creek Crafts, we're tasked with just trying to give you a more in-depth look at Kendra's card challenge and more insight into our process. So in this first video, what I will strive to do is pick my pattern papers. All of the pretties will go away for now. We'll set them aside and we'll get to that probably in part 2 or maybe even part 3. And we're just going to focus on choosing our pattern papers and cutting them according to the cutting guide. Now, if you are new to Kendra's card challenge, this is an absolutely free card sketch challenge that you can play along with. And when you play along, what you'll do is download the free PDF printable. It'll show you how to cut 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern papers and then turn all of those cuts into 15 gorgeous A2 cards. So what I'm going to do is start flipping through these pattern papers and hope that I can find 6 that coordinate well together and are non-directional. And this is a really lovely small repeat pattern that is very nearly could be substituted as a solid. I feel like this floral print is pretty non-directional, so I think those are two choices that are wonderful. So when in doubt, probably the easiest way to pick your papers is to go with non-directional papers. So I'm gonna pull out all of the ones that feel pretty non-directional to me, and we'll see if we have more than 6, and then we can kind of narrow them down from there. So I love patterns like that. So easy to work with. And this one, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. I feel like this one, it could work. We'll just set that aside just in case we can use it. This one, I feel like might have a directionality to it, but I'm gonna pull it out anyway just in case. We'll take a closer look in a moment. And then that one I think was the very first, right? Yeah. This zigzag pattern I think can go either way. I think it can go up and down or left to right. So we'll use this as well. And all right. And then I think that's gonna start to repeat. So let's just go through one more time. This paper is gorgeous. It's got some foiling to it. I feel like this might actually, we might be able to use this. Yeah, I think that one we could probably use. Definitely this has an orientation. Anything with words like this, oh, such a shame. This has some slight lettering. I think we won't be able to use that. This one I feel can go any which way, sort of. We'll see. And I think this is pretty non-directional. I mean, it's mirrored, so I'm glad I'm doing a second pass. There are some things that are a little bit more obvious than others, and then now we're repeating. Okay, so I feel like we've got a pretty good selection. Options, a lot of different options. Now, what I'm gonna do is I am going to, and if you catch my other series, I actually use a variety of different methods. I try with each video to maybe approach the challenge in a different way, and that way, you know, if you're playing along, maybe one of these different approaches speaks to you and makes the challenge a little bit more fun and interesting for you. So what I'm looking for as I scan this is ultimately I want to pick 6. And I want to pick 6 that will mix and match and work really well together. And one of the things I look for is colors that are going to complement one another, but also patterns that will complement one another. So for example, I want, if there's going to be something that's a little bit on the busy side, I want to make sure that I'm picking something that might have a little bit less going on, so that both of these stand out if they were to find themselves on a card together. So I think these two might be a good option. I feel like this one could be good, even if it's combined with this, because there's like, this is so dark, there's like a high contrast here, that there's still a lot that differentiates these two. So I feel like those could be good. This is very nearly a solid. I feel like I almost want maybe something like this because it's a little bit of a geometric. So we'll go with that. This could be good as another pattern that is a little bit more uniform, just like this one is, but it's a little bit more open, whereas this is a very small dense repeat. This is more open. And let's pick one more. I'm thinking maybe this. So we have 3 florals. If any of those 3, even if they were to be combined with one another, I think they have good contrast between them. And then we've got a couple that are fairly basic patterns, but they are different also. This is almost nearly solid. This is very small repeat, not a lot of white, and this is more bold, more open. Okay, so those are going to be my 6 papers. That's probably the fastest I've ever chosen papers for KCC. So let's cut these, and I'm gonna pretty much let's just alternate. We'll go A, B, C, D, E, and F. We'll just something not floral, floral, not floral, floral. So we got 3 that are not floral and 3 that are floral. I happen to prefer, even though I got new blades for my all-in-one, I do happen to prefer using my guillotine for cutting. So let's start with cutting paper A. So let's focus. If you've never played along with the challenge before, this is part of the cutting guide, and what you'll find when you get the free PDF is the first page is going to tell you all about the challenge, how to play along, and give you some really good information. Highly recommend that you read that. Then the next few pages will show you how to cut the 6 sheets of pattern paper that you've just chosen. And what you want to look for is, to start off, look for the scissor icon, because that's going to be where you make your very first cut. So let's just go ahead and do that. Now, I always want to make sure before I start that my papers are actually 6x6. Sometimes different paper manufacturers, it might be a little bit more than 6. This is actually a smidge, just a smidge, a hair less than 6, but I think it's going to be just fine. Okay, so our first cut here, if you look at the cutting guide, each of these pieces represents a portion of this pattern paper that will be used on a particular card, 1 through 15. And when you look at the dimensions, it actually will tell you, if we look at this here, that this is 1 inch high and 3 inches wide. So what I want to do if I'm looking to make this first cut is you can add up all the individual segments at 1.5 plus 1.5. That brings me to 3 inches. So I'm going to make this first cut at 3 inches. Oh, I don't have to check the back side. It's such a habit for me to just check the back, make sure that it's oriented in a way that's still usable if I make my cut this way. But we don't have to worry about that because this is single-sided. All right, so I'm going to cover that up for now. We're going to focus on this side. Now, after you've made that first cut, the rest of the cuts you have to figure out. And the easiest, there's only one rule that you need to remember, and that is whenever you go to make a cut, you need to be able to cut from one edge of the paper to the other edge of the paper without cutting through another piece. So for example, if I wanted to make this first cut at 1 inch, if I were to start cutting, when I get to this point, I would be cutting through that piece. And the same with this one too. So those two won't work. If I wanted to cut this one, as soon as I get to this point, I would be cutting through that piece right there. So the only safe cut for this portion is this line right here, because I can cut from left edge to right edge and it wouldn't bisect or cut into another piece. So where is that? It's 4.5 inches down from the top, because that number right there says 4.5. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this at 4.5, and then I'm going to cut. So that's the top portion. Now we look at this one. We just need 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And those pieces are ready to go. I happen to like organizing my pieces as I'm cutting them. I put them into cello bags that are numbered according to the sketch. When you look at these, the number that you see with the black circle surrounding it, that is the card number or sketch number where those pieces will be used. So these two squares will be used in sketch number 3. So I will pop both of them into my number 3 bag. And then we can turn our attention to this piece that's remaining, and I just need to cut 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. All of those will go into sketch number 1. And so I'll line this up at 2 inches. That's going to give me 1 inch hanging off the edge. And then another inch here. All 3 of these will go into sketch number 1. Okay. Next up, we can look at the other half of this now. And if we look at the other half, now we need to determine which of these lines can you cut from one edge of this entire piece to the next edge without cutting through another piece. And sometimes there might be more than one choice, but in this case, the only option is this one right here. And this gets cut 5 inches down from the top. So go ahead and make that cut. And this bottommost piece can go into sketch number 9. Then looking at the remaining portion here, the only line that I can cut is this one here, which is 1 inch on this side and 2 inches hanging off from the right. But what I'm going to do is, because this pattern, it's pretty fairly solid looking, it doesn't really matter where that 1 by 5 inch piece comes from, whether it's the left edge or the right edge. So I'm just going to cut it off from the right edge so that I just have a larger piece to hang on to. So that's 1 by 5, and that also goes with sketch number 9. And then this remaining piece right here, we have a 1 inch tall, 2 inch tall, 2 inch tall. So again, I'm just gonna do this the most convenient way. This, which for me is, if you want to start at 5 inches like this, I want to cut 1 inch off. So just scooch this over by 1 inch, cut that. This goes into sketch 2. And then the remaining pieces are 2 by 2, and both of those go into sketch number 4. So that is paper A, cut, organized, ready to go. So let's just keep rolling to sketch or paper B. So what's the first thing we look for? The scissor icon. That's going to tell us where the first cut is. And this also abides by that single rule, cut from one edge to the next without cutting through anything else. It's just helpful that Kendra puts a little scissor icon so that we know exactly where that first cut is. Now, there's a lot of other stuff going on here with arrows and whatnot, but if you're using pattern papers that are pretty much non-directional, then you don't even have to worry about any of those arrows. And that's why picking papers this time around has been so easy. So I want to make this cut So the way you can determine where that cut is, you can add all of the lengths across here, or I want to cut 1 1/8 off of this right hand edge. So one way to do that is just line it up here. It starts at 6 inches, so push it over by 1 inch and then push it over 1/8 of an inch. And so that gets me this piece here. This piece is really easy. It just gets cut at 4.5, and that top part goes with sketch number 2 and the bottom goes with sketch number 12. So 4.5. Okay, that's sketch 2. And the bottom one is sketch number 12. Okay, it's the first piece for sketch 12. All right, so now let's look at what's left. Can you spot the line that we need to cut on? That's going to be this one right here. From here to here, pretty much it doesn't look like any other line is going to work. So where is this line? It's 3 inches, so right in the middle. So I always try to keep my papers kind of in the same orientation as the sketch. That way I don't lose myself. So this one will rotate back and we'll just put that right there so that we can focus on this bottom section now. So with this bottom section, there's only these vertical lines, super easy. But let's take it one at a time, but so that I can comfortably hold on to a larger piece here, I'm just going to nudge these over by the amount or the width that I need off of the right hand edge. So this rightmost piece here is 5/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to push this over by 1/8, and that's going to leave 1/2 inch. And so I'll just push it another 1/2 inch. All right. And that piece also goes into sketch number 12. Oh, that goes into sketch 11. Sketch 11. Next we have this is 1 inch and then 1 inch. These next two are pretty easy, just 1 inch, 1 inch, and that should leave 2 1/4. So we are at 4 1/4, so we go to 3 1/4 and 2 1/4. Okay, these two go with sketch number 9, and this one is sketch 13. Sketch number 9 and 13. Okay, now for that top portion. Okay, so now we're looking at this portion here, and there's really only one line that we can cut from edge to edge and not have it intersect with anything else, and that's this one here. And again, that's another one where it's shown anyhow is we want to take 5/8 off from this edge. So I'll do that same thing. I'll just line this up, push it over by 1/8 of an inch, and then 1/2 inch. And that gets me 5/8 of an inch. And this piece does get cut from corner to corner. Now, last time I played along with KCC22, I left this to future Lynn, but I'll actually cut it this time. Just as I said, I like to play along a little differently each time, so we'll go ahead and cut those right now and drop both of them into sketch number 9. Next up, we have what's left here. Now, you might be tempted to cut this line, but keep in mind there's this one little sliver down here that if you were to start your cut here, you would be cutting into that. So this is just 1/4 of an inch off from the bottom, but you can use this measurement as well, 2 3/4. So we'll go ahead and line this up at 2 3/4. That's gonna get me this little portion here that goes into sketch 11. Next, now we have this portion here, and this line is the only one that we can cut, so that's at 2 1/4. And this goes into sketch number 1. And what's left is just these 2 pieces here, so 2 by 2, and then a piece that's 2 by 3/4 of an inch. So 2. So this one goes into sketch number 4, and then the bottom one is sketch number 11. There is something pretty liberating about not having double-sided papers. I'm kind of learning that one of the positives is that you just have fewer options, so it does make decisions, I think, later when we put stuff together, it's going to make decisions kind of easy because you just have the one side. Alright, we're going to move right along to the cutting guide for paper C. And remember, I picked these papers, but I signed them pretty randomly, and that's fairly different to how I've showed you in various different series. So in my first KCC 22 series, I actually looked at how the papers were gonna get cut, and I chose my patterns accordingly. Last quarter, I actually looked to see which papers got combined with one another, and I picked them to really make sure that they would, whatever combinations would be on the same sketch together would look good together. And this time, you know, I'm really just taking it very easy breezy, keeping it really simple, not thinking too much about it. And we're flying. We're getting through this so fast. So, you know, if this sketch challenge has ever felt intimidating to you, maybe do what I'm doing. Use non-directional papers or papers that could be used in both directions, and maybe give it a try using single-sided papers. I often use double-sided papers as a little bit of a crutch, but I'm finding that this is pretty liberating. I thought it would be much harder, to be honest, but this is actually going by so fast and just seems really a lot simpler. Alright, so here we are. I've made my first 2 cuts of paper C. Now this one needs to get cut on an angle, and there are some measurements. So you want to measure 1 1/4 inch up from the left bottom corner and 1 1/4 inch down from the top right corner. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and give myself some pencil marks. So 1 1/4 inch. And then this one, I want to go up 1 1/4 inches. Okay, and then I just want to connect those 2 pencil marks with my cut. So I'm just going to line those up on the cutting blade. And both of these, oh, not both. One of these goes with sketch 5 and the other one goes with sketch 6. So we'll have one that's sketch 5 and then one that's sketch 6. Okay. All right, this bottom one, we have 3/4 of an inch from the right, another 3/4 from an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm left with 2.5. So let's go ahead, put this up. It lines up at 4, so I'm just gonna push it over by 3/4 of an inch. That gets me that first piece. We'll worry about the rest later. Get another 3/4 of an inch, so that's 1/4, then 1/2. Okay. This one can go straight into sketch 11. This piece here gets cut into 2 triangles. We just connect those corners. And both of those will go into sketch number 8. And then I will go back for that piece that I skipped. So sketch number 8, here we go. All right, and then this last piece again, this is another one of those pieces that just has like a lot of little ones. I'm still gonna save that for future Lynn, because I just don't want to lose all of those little triangles. So with this, we have 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then 1 inch. So let's put this piece in. This one measures 2.5. So if I want to take an inch off, this is going to be 1.5. Okay, so that's our 1.5 by 3/4 wide, and that goes with sketch 12. It's actually on the inside of sketch 12. Then all of these pieces here will be sketch 7, and I'll just save it until we assemble that sketch to do that last cut. So let's find my bag for sketch 7. Here we go. All right. Then we have this piece here, and with this, there's a couple options. You can make this horizontal cut 1 inch off the top. You could make this horizontal cut. Both of them perfectly good options. I'm just gonna do this and just work my way down. So I'll take an inch off of the top there. So push this to 5 inches. So we get 1 inch off the top for sketch number 4. And then this next piece is 3 inches. So if it was like that, it would be 3 inches, and then down here what we have is 2 inches. So I'll just go ahead, cut that to 3 inches, and we have a piece that's 2 inches on the bottom. This one though does need to get cut in half, so I need to split this so that it's 1 inch wide by 3 inches tall. We have 2 of those, that both of which go into sketch number 9. So get both of those into sketch number 9. And then with this bottom portion, there's only one line that can be cut, and that's this one here. So that's going to split this into 1 inch wide pieces as well. So let's get that one. This one is fine. We'll do the banner cut when we get to the card. So just tuck that into sketch 12 for now. And then this one gets cut so that there's 1.5 and then just a little 1/2 inch at the bottom there. So I am going to go ahead and put this at the 1.5. And this is sketch 11. This little piece is the inside of 13. So here's sketch 11. That's that top piece, the bigger one. And then the little one goes into sketch 13, which I think This might be the first piece for sketch 13. Oh no, there is something else already. All right, so next up, paper D. So with paper D, we've got our scissor icon is here, which is 2.5 from the bottom. Still pretty comfortable to hold on to 2.5, so make that first cut there. And then with the top portion, the only safe cut is this one here, so 2 inches and 4 inches. So there's 2. And this piece is kind of similar to the one that we did before. So we need to make some pencil marks, 1.25 down from the top right. Let's just make a little pencil mark right off to the edge. 1.25 down, and then 1.25 up from the bottom left. Okay, and then just line those 2 pencil marks up on your cutting blade and give it a trim. All right, this top one goes into 6. It's kind of the reverse, so we're mixing and matching. So these are the 2 that are going to go together basically. So this one goes with sketch 5 and sketch 6. Okay. Then with this one, there's only one line that works, and that's this one here. So 1.5. And this piece can go with sketch 4. That's that one there. This portion that we have left is 2 by 2. Yeah, it's 2 by 2. And so this first one is 1.25 wide. So 1.25. And this piece goes with 11. Okay. And then we're going to cut this top 1/2 inch off. So this is 1.5 tall. So I'm going to rotate it so that I can hold on to that bottom 1.5. And then this goes into 13, that little 1/2 inch by 1.25. And then what's left needs to be trimmed so that you have 1/2 inch and then 3/4 inch. Okay, 1/2 and 3/4. So that skinny one, the 1/2 inch one, goes into sketch number 12. And then the 3/4 inch wide one, that goes with sketch 7. Now to the bottom portion, our first cut is going to be this one right here, which cuts 3/4 inch off of the right edge. So this is starting at 6, so we'll just push it over by 3/4 inch. Make that cut, and that goes into sketch number 7. And with the piece that's left, you have a couple choices. We can cut this bottom horizontal line, or we can cut this line here that's sort of in the middle. So I'm just gonna start at the bottom and move my way up. So that's gonna be a 3/4 inch up from the bottom edge. So this started at 2.5, so I'm going to push it over by 3/4 of an inch just to take that first 3/4 of an inch off of the bottom. And that's what I'm left with. So this piece needs to get cut into 3 1/8, and then the other part will be 2 1/8. Okay, and both of them go with sketch number 7. Okay, so next we have, we can take another 3/4 of an inch off. So this is starting at 1 3/4. So if we push it over by 3/4, then we're lining it up at 1. And this whole piece can go with sketch number 8. Okay. Next we have the next piece is this one right here, and we need to take 1 inch off for that circle. So this is starting at 5 1/4, so I'm going to push it over to 4 1/4 so I can get that 1 inch off of the right hand edge. So that's what's hanging off there. That little bit, this 1 inch by 1 inch, is going to go into sketch number 10. And what's left here, we just need to take 3/4 of an inch for 11, and then 1/4 of an inch also for 11. So I'm just gonna hold this at 3/4 of an inch and let 1/4 of an inch hang off, and both of these will be put into sketch number 11. And that's paper D. Done. Just 2 more left. All right, so paper E. All right, that's this one here. Okay, so scissor icon is here, and it's 5 1/4 inches down from the top. So take that first one. And then with that bottom portion, the right half is 3 inches. So I'll just line this up at 3. And this goes with 11. And then what's left is 1 7/8 and 1 1/8. So I'll just do the 1 7/8 first. 1 7/8, and the wider one goes in 14, the more narrow one goes in 11. So 14, here's 14. Oh, this is the first piece for 14. Okay, then what's left, we have this big portion here. I'm just going to push it off the edge by 3/4 of an inch, and it's starting at 6, so 5 1/4. And then we need to take another 1 1/4, so that's 1/4 of an inch, and then 1 inch, so that's at 4. All right, and that was really easy. This large piece goes with sketch 10. The one next to it is 12, and then the most narrow piece goes with sketch number 8. So sketch number 8, here we go. All right, we're on to our very last paper F, and here's the scissor icon. So we're going to cut this at 3 3/4. 3 3/4. Okay. This one's really easy, so let's take this left half, that gets cut at 5. And top part goes with 13, bottom goes with 15. Oh, first piece for sketch 15. All right, next we have this couple different options here. We can make this cut 1.5 from the top, or this cut right here, which is 1.5 from the bottom. So either way. So if this is starting at 6, I'm going to push it over by 1.5. And this bottom portion will cut in half, where it's 1 1/8, 1 1/8. Okay, so one of those goes into 14, the other goes into sketch 12. 12. And where's 14? Yep. So sketch 12 and 14. All right, so with this top portion here, I'm gonna cut 1.5 off from the top, and then that gives me this 3-inch piece here. So I'll just go ahead and line this up at 3. And that top one goes with sketch 14. And that just leaves us this middle portion here. And there's only one cut, that's this one right here. And it leaves, it's 3/4 of an inch on the left and 1.5 on the right. But again, this is like non-directional. These are being used on different sketches. I'm just gonna hold on to 1.5. And I'll take the 3/4 of an inch from this right edge as opposed to from the left. And this goes into sketch 14. And then the piece that's left is cut in half at 1.5. Okie dokie. And both of those will go into sketch number 3. And we're done with the cutting. So that's got to be a record for me. So I've cut all 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper. And what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to do a little bit of prep. So what I'm going to do, probably off camera, maybe I'll do a couple on camera with you, and then off camera, I'll finish up the prep work. What I mean by prep is when we look at the sketches, and this is just the first 3 sketches out of 15, there's a lot more going on here than the pattern paper. Some sketches have feature a lot of pattern paper. Some sketches feature, just a few pieces here and there. And so where you see white, gray, or black, that's where you have complete freedom and flexibility to add whatever you would like. And sometimes Kendrick gives you some suggestions like an embossed panel. And so if you're at a loss for ideas, you can always, look for those suggestions. But ultimately, it's whatever you would like to see happen there. And that could actually mean bringing in some additional pattern papers. It could mean bringing in some solid color cardstock, an embossed panel, an inky panel, specialty paper, whatever you would like. And it could also mean maybe not even using those pieces at all. These are just suggestions. They are there to help you to create, a full and complete card. But ultimately, it's up to you what you think might look nice. So, for example, if I were to continue the prep for card number 1 here, the pattern paper is represented. It's all color coded to match actually, you know, what we just finished cutting. So you can see paper A, it's the same color. Paper B, it's the exact same color. And so these are those pieces that we cut. So this is our paper A. Well, this worked out really well. So look at how nice that is. And so, you know, what I would probably be tempted to do for to complete the prep for card number 1, sketch number 1, I think I might actually want to put some more pattern paper behind, because and maybe even something that's a bit of a print. Let's see what we have. I don't know that oh yeah, so let's look at some of the other choices, especially the directional papers that we couldn't use earlier. Because there's a really nice solid, you know, strips here, I feel like putting some more pattern paper behind would actually look kind of nice. And I like this pink one because it's going to bring some of the pink in this pattern to the background. And because there's white in the open space here, I'm actually going to cut this piece, and you can see it's not really represented by an extra layer there, but I'm going to add it as an extra layer, and I'm going to put this onto a white card base. So let's show you. So I'll get a white card base here. And sometimes it's nice to also pop your card base into that cello bag too. And you've got that ready to go also. But I'm just going to use this white card base as I prep all of my pieces, just so that I can audition things out a little bit. But my thinking is this, for this card, for example, I think I want to leave a white border, and then I'll layer these pieces on top of that. And that way the white from this pattern, there's a nice white frame behind that also. And I think that just helps bring like our background all the way through to the foreground. So I'm gonna cut this piece of pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4. 4 by 5 1/4. All right. So that's one layer. And then you can kind of see on the sketch that there's a suggestion of a mat behind this paper B piece here. And if this was big enough, I would maybe even consider using it, but it's not quite big enough. So I'll probably have to reach for some solid color cardstock. Maybe in one of those darker pinks. So let's see what I've got. For this pink, that could work. Okay, and one of the nice things with Kendra's sketches is that she gives you all of the dimensions, even repeating the dimensions of these pieces that we just cut. And the beauty of that is that you can, if you're just using the sketches as inspiration, you're not necessarily trying to complete a full set of 15. It makes it really easy to follow along with the sketch. You don't have to, there's no guesswork. You can actually, you know, cut it to exactly to the size that is shown. And I think that's really convenient for us. But of course, you know, if you need, if you want, you can always, you know, change things up, make them your own. And then here it's shown that we have like a little accent that's shown in gray, a couple layers of circles shown in white and black. But the reality is that, you know, having seen the collection of what I'm working with, I think I'm pretty inclined to maybe use one of these butterflies in that spot there. And I'm thinking I'll probably use a chipboard, one of these chipboards for a sentiment as that sort of trapezoid gray piece there. So I'm just gonna leave that for when I go to actually assemble and put this card together. But this is the sort of prep that that I like doing as another pass, and then that way when I go to assemble the cards, it's just going to be gluing down the pieces that I've already kind of picked out, and then decorating them with the focal image and sentiment. So, you know, I like to kind of get it to the point where there's already sort of that nice foundation, and pretty much almost that, you know, I have all of the pieces ready to go. And from there, it's just going to be assembling it. So here's another sketch. Maybe we'll just talk through this one, what I might use for this. And again, I'm just going to snag the card base out of here just so that we can use it as a template. So here, what we have is there's actually only two pieces that come from the original papers that we chose. There's this one here, paper B, and then there's this one here, paper A. And I've already got this piece that conveniently is 2 inches wide. So I'm just going to use that as the third color block here. So this is 2 by 3 and 3/8. It's already cut to 2. So let's just get it down to 3 and 3/8. Since I've brought in this extra pattern paper on the previous card, now I can just use up these scraps as I'm going along. And shown here are a couple of few layers. So we have this dark gray layer that is 3.5 by 4 3/4, and then shown in white is your standard 4 by 5 1/4. And I might, for that gray, I think I might use some solid color cardstock. And then for the 4 by 5 1/4, maybe it'll be fun to pick another pattern paper. And I almost wonder if I want this, just to have something dark behind there, and then have white on top of that. So I might do that. I think that would be kind of interesting. And I'll show you what I mean. So let's see. So we would cut this to 4 by 5 1/4. So 4. And since I know exactly which sketch I'm using this on, I can pick papers that are, you know, the correct orientation. So I'll do that. And then what I'm thinking of doing is this dark gray here, 3.5 by 4 3/4. I'm gonna cut that out of white. So let's use that. So this is going to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. So we have something like this. There we go. And yeah, kind of like that. And I might, because this has some open white areas, but the white doesn't really match with the white of my cardstock, I might actually border that with, or border all of these pieces perhaps with some Love from Lizzie's pinstripe stickers. We'll see. That can be a little bit of a judgment call when we get there, but I like to actually go through each of these sketches, and because we get so many beautiful pattern papers, personal preference for me is to bring in even more pattern paper because so often the pieces are not always like the biggest representation. So for here, for example, we just have a couple, 4 pieces that are 1.5 by 1.5, but that leaves a lot of space for some additional prints, some additional patterns. So for example, with this one, maybe bringing in, I hope there's something maybe in the pinks. That would be nice to kind of bring in. I'm looking for something that's going to fill this dark gray that goes all the way, A2. Let's see. So I could use the other pink, which is really nice. I might. This might be like one of my favorite prints. And again, this has like a few different mattes. But I like that there's like little hints of pink here, and so having some more pink in the background I think will look really nice. It'll just kind of tie everything together. So that's going to be 4.25 by 5.5. So you can kind of see once we get that foundation on, it really makes the pink that's on these pieces, I feel like it really makes them pop. But I'm gonna probably pick some solid color cardstock, maybe using white again. So this piece is 3.25 by 4.5. So 3.25 by 4.5. 3.25 by 4.5. And then that's what these pieces will tile onto. And this one's actually got another layer behind it, but I might go darker with that. Maybe try to, this isn't quite black, so I don't know if I want to bring out a black or maybe just a really dark, almost like how it's shown here, in fact. And then I need to figure out some strips that go across here. So let's see if we have pieces of scraps that I've already cut. This could work. I might be able to get enough strips from that. If not, I could probably use this and just cut portions, because I'll cover it with something, But let's hope I can get enough out of that piece. So I think that's good enough prep for this. I might find some gray cardstock for that extra matte layer. But this is what I'm going to do for the rest of the 15 sketches. I'm just going to go one by one and then pick out some additional pattern papers, some additional solid color cardstock. I'm not going to pick out my focal image and sentiment just yet. It's really just to get the rest of the pieces that I would need to complete the sketch in terms of just that foundational layer, pretty much as you see it. And then that way, when I go to make the cards, I have not much left to do to complete the sketch, but I can really focus at that point on the actual focal image and sentiment. So that is going to be, I think, where I'll leave part one. That's where we'll end part one. And so what I think I might do for subsequent parts is I think I'm going to do maybe 2 more parts. I think it works out well that these are 3-part series. And in part 2, maybe what I'll do is sketches 1 through 7 or 8. And then in part 3, I'll finish the assembly of the second half of the sketches. And this way I can actually maybe splitting up the assembly into 2 separate videos as opposed to one super long video like last time. I can actually go into each sketch with just a smidge more details, just in case you need some more tips and tricks for how to put together any one particular sketch. And that's really what Kendra, Beth, and I are trying to do, is put out multiple videos where we're really going in depth and sharing with you our full process for one, but really the assembly of each and every sketch. Certainly look for videos from the rest of our video design team. They're going to be sharing tutorial videos as well. But if you're having a hard time finding any one particular sketch, guaranteed Kendra, Beth, and I will have a video on it. So we don't make the rest of the design team have to cover every single one of the 15 sketches. And that way you have 3 places that you know for certain you'll see all of the sketches presented multiple times throughout the quarter. So this is going to be my second set, and I have a third one yet to go. All right, friends, I hope to see you in part 2 of this series featuring the Spellbinders and Rosie's Studio Jubilee collection. And I can't wait. This is such a beautiful springtime collection. It's coming together really well. And one of the things that I really want to try to use, I think I picked some, but I did spot that some of these actually have some foiling, so I definitely want to find those and see if I can incorporate them into some of these cards. So that's what I'll be doing. All right, friends, see you in the next one.